Good evening, welcome to Primetime News here on TV1. You are with me, Disal Kapuge, bringing you the news for News First, the voice of the people. Before we get into the news today, let's first take a look at your headlines.
Election Commission to convene on the 9th to discuss the local government election. A meeting for secretaries of political parties. People do not want an election, says President Ranil Wickremesinghe. Election monitoring groups oppose meeting between Election Commission and President.
ජනාධිපතිතුමත් ප්‍රධානම දේශපාලන පක්ෂයක නායකයෙක්.
මැතිවරණය පිළිබඳව ප්‍රශ්න කිරීම ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදීත් නැහැ, නීත්‍යානුකූලත් නැහැ, සදාචාරත් නැහැ.
New laws to regulate social media. How has the economic crisis affected the beauty industry?
සරවාගේ අපිට කස්ටමර්ස්ලා ඇත්තටම නැහැ.
මේ තියෙන තත්ත්වයක් එක්ක ඉතින් අපේ රැකියාව කරගෙන යන බැරි තත්ත්වයක් තියලා තියෙනවා අපිට.
Will elections be held before the 10th of March 2023? 63 days more.
Now in your top story, a meeting involving members of the National Election Commission is to be held on Monday the 9th of January.
According to a member of the National Election Commission, the meeting will focus on the Commission's responsibilities in terms of the upcoming polls and related affairs. The Election Commission also summoned the secretaries of all political parties on the 11th of January. Commissioner General of the Election Commission, Saman Sriratnayaka, says the meeting has been called to accept nominations for the local government election and to issue instructions and other documents regarding the election. The meeting is to be held at 10 a.m. on the 11th. According to the weekend newspaper, President Ranil Wickremesinghe has said the people are not hoping for a local government election. According to the report, the head of state made these remarks during a meeting with a selected group of people. According to the report, the president has said he will not get involved in the local government election. He said the election must be held in line with the decision of the court. President Ranil Wickremesinghe has also said that social media regulations similar to the laws implemented in Singapore should be implemented in Sri Lanka. Election monitoring groups are of the view that a local government election must be held without delay. Views in this regard were expressed during a press briefing convened by 6 election monitoring groups in Colombo today.
We are all of the view that an election must be held. There have been statements from both the government and the media indicating that the National Elections Commission is divided when it comes to the polls. This is an attempt to delegitimize the existing election process. As of now, the President has summoned the Election Commission on 2 occasions. As the head of state, he has the right to convene a commission. However, at a time when an election has been announced and when the government has disagreed to hold an election, the President summoning the commission and questioning it regarding the election is neither democratic, legal nor ethical. We as election monitoring groups see this as an attack on the independence of the Election Commission. They said if an election is held, there wouldn't be enough funds to purchase books, school uniforms and paddy, and that fuel and gas queues would reappear. But when they passed the recent budget, they knew that an election will be held, so funds have been allocated for this purpose. The Secretary to the Ministry of Finance is aware of this. The Election Commission is aware of this as well. They know about the relevant legal framework. They lack the political, social and economic background necessary to postpone the polls. The President cannot convene the Elections Commission at a time like this or to express such views. He is the leader of one of the main political parties of this country. We believe these meetings will end in disputes. Moreover, the Attorney General does not need to be consulted regarding this matter. The existing provisions of the Constitution state that a vote will be held if there is a division in the Election Commission. The Constitution is clear about the steps that need to be taken. In a democratic country, the President does not have to be involved in this.
Sri Lankaවේ ඕනෑම මැතිවරණයක් පවත්වා
Have you ever heard of Sri Lanka becoming bankrupt by holding an election? Don't forget that 10 billion rupees is needed to hold an election. That amount has already been allocated. No Sri Lankan government has ever considered the cost to hold an election as a burden. Funds have always been provided. After every election, there was an economic stimulus in Sri Lanka.
අපි තාම දකින්නේ නැහැ නිශ්චිතව.
We don't see a clear political commitment to hold this election. In the recent past, the people have demanded change in the system. The local government election can be considered as a basic requirement of that system change. The people can exercise their rights. Do the people favor other economic and state policies? Therefore, as election monitoring groups, we oppose any attempt to prevent or postpone the local government elections.
ීමට හෝ ප්‍රමාද කිරීමට යම් උත්සාහයක් දරනවා නම් නිරීක්ෂණ සංවිධානය හැටියට අපි ඒක අපේ විරෝධතාවය ප්‍රකාශ කරනවා.
මේ නොපිය වූ බිල්පත් බිලියන ගණනක්
There are unpaid bills worth billions that the government needs to pay to construction companies. Instead of making these payments, the ministry will have to focus on the election. A comprehensive program to restore normalcy to the economy is currently underway. If we divert our attention now, stability and fulfilling the hopes of the public are at stake.
එතනින් බැහැර වුණොත් මේ ඇතිවන ස්ථායීකරණයට සහ ජනතා බලාපොරොත්තු වලට කිසියම් බාධාවක් ඇති වේ.
The government is trying many techniques to postpone the election because they are afraid of it. The court will issue a proper ruling. The government is afraid of an election. I believe that we need to think more deeply about the real problem of the country. The SLPP is of the stance that it is not responsible for holding an election. Holding an election is a responsibility of the Elections Commission. The SLPP will not interfere with the work of the Commission.
මැතිවරණ කොමිසමේ රාජකාරී. ඒ නිසා මැතිවරණ කොමිසමේ කටයුතු වලට අපි පොදු ජන පෙරමුණුදිට කවදාකවත් ඇඟිලි ගහලා නැහැ.
While plans are afoot to postpone the election, Ranil Wickremesinghe has no right to convene and question members of the Election Commission. If they are trying to postpone the election by using deception, and if the nephew is trying to become a dictator like his uncle by turning a blind eye to the electoral map, the people will take to the streets. I do not believe there's a serious issue in terms of democracy in the country. If around 2,000 people from among 22 million people step out demanding an election, that is not a call for a mandate. The country is in a crisis. The Elections Commission must also understand the gravity of the issue. For 3 months, salaries were paid by printing money. Now they want to print money and conduct an election. There is no issue in wanting to protect democracy. This is going to place the country in a state of confusion. We oppose the President's meeting with the Election Commission. The President and his associates must have received news that they are in trouble. They have said that nominations will be given from Kalutara. This is not for us. This is a rap on the knuckles of Ranil Wickremesinghe. If Ranil wishes, we can give them this as well by inviting them to contest the election under the SLPP. The people are demanding essential food items. At this rate, the people won't even visit the polling booths to vote. They don't have money for their expenses. If you hold a referendum and ask the people whether they need an election or not, they will vote against an election. We all know that the SLPP and the UNP will not get any votes. They fear an election. Observe how these who say there's no money are wasting 10 billion rupees. There is stolen money. There is the sugar scam. More than 7 trillion has been allocated for this year. Of that, 10 billion will be spent on this. Can anyone say that there's no money when a presidential or general election approaches? There's no point in bringing these useless arguments. The government will have to hold an election. They will have to face the election and face defeat.
Ranil Wickremesinghe has now come to the conclusion that social media must be regulated. He became president thanks to the people's struggle which developed through social media. He has forgotten that a broad discussion must be held in the country about social media regulation. It must be done in a manner that will not hinder the fundamental rights of the people enshrined in the Constitution, such as freedom of speech and freedom of expression. They want to deny the people's right to information and keep people in the dark about the harm they are doing to the country.
While many opinions are being shared with regards to the election, pro-government political parties as well as opposition parties have begun preparations. Discussions between the organizer of the Gampaha district electorate and opposition leader Sajid Premadasa were held today at the opposition leader's office. A separate discussion regarding the election headed by the General Secretary of the SJB took place in Kurunegala. During this discussion, parliamentarians representing the districts, SJB local government officials and others were present. Meanwhile, the chief organizer of the Agalavatta electorate of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, Ranjit Somavansa, met with the opposition leader and extended his support to the SJB. The Central Committee meeting of the Ilangai Tamil Arasu Katchi party was held in Batiklo today. The forthcoming local government election was discussed at the meeting. Three parties of the Tamil National Alliance have reached a decision to hold discussions together with the other parties about the upcoming election. Will elections be held before the 10th of March 2023? 63 days more.
State Minister of Urban Development and Housing Arundika Fernando says that the country's resources should be used in an economically advantageous manner.
A program was held at the Mount Lavinia beach today to mark 3 years since the beginning of the Lassana Verala Coastal Conservation Project. The project was conducted by the Coastal Conservation Department and other parties. Various items have been manufactured with objects found on the shore.
You won't find the resources Sri Lanka enjoys anywhere else in the world. But despite these resources, we are in dire straits. When we visit our country, we see beautiful mountain plains and waterfalls unlike any other. And we can visit any of these areas in a short space of time. However, we are yet to install cable cars. When we try to install cable cars, environmentalists oppose us. Environmental protection is not putting the environment in a closet. The economy should be strengthened together with the environment. Today, Sri Lanka is struggling. Everyone in every department, sector and role must be enthusiastic towards bringing economic value to everything.
Sri Lanka has been destroyed by corruption and incompetence. According to the UN, economic crimes committed are the primary reason for the situation we are facing today. Many sectors have been adversely affected by these economic crimes committed by those in power. The beauty industry is one such sector. Here are some of the challenges that they face.
The beauty industry has made its way into every nook and cranny of Sri Lanka, from the small salon in the village to the better established salons with high-end technology. The sector has seamlessly spread out across the island. However, with the economic crisis, the depreciating rupee and import restrictions, the beauty industry has been hit hard. What is the situation now? Newsfirst spoke to many in the sector today. This is Gaul. Just like other many cities, Gaul brought out the best in the beauty industry, which has provided employment to many around the country. Here are some of their stories.
We don't have many customers compared to last year. The reason for this is the increased prices because we have no products. And we have no choice but to increase our prices. Because of the lack of imports, we face difficulties. The prices have more than doubled. When this happens, we have issues when communicating these prices to the customers.
එහෙම කියන්නකොත් අපිට ගොඩක් දේවල් අඩුයි කලර් පැත්තෙන් බැලුවොත් කලර් ප්‍රොඩක්ට්ස් අඩුයි අපිට ස්ට්‍රේටින් පැත්ත කරලා ගියොත් ඒවයි ගොඩක් බ්‍රෑන්ඩඩ් දේවල් අඩුයි ඉතින් එහෙම වුණාම මේව පවත්වා යන්න අපිට ගොඩක් අපහසුයි ඉතින් මේ තියෙන තත්ත්වයත් එක්ක ඉතින් අපේ රැකියාව කරගෙන යන බැරි තත්ත්වයක් තියලා තියෙනවා අපිට දැන් මේව වහලා වෙන අස්සාවක් හොයාගන්න වෙලා තියෙනවා මොකද
This is the situation of the beauty industry in Kandy.
There is a problem in the beauty industry. We are finding it difficult to import special products from certain countries. We obtain products of facials and hair coloring primarily from foreign countries. This is actually a self-sustained career. No one helped us when we started. We learned the craft ourselves and gathered knowledge from other countries. When customers visit us for a haircut, if we do a hair wash as well, we must charge 3,000 rupees for what was once 1,000 rupees. Just like that, when we use a hair dye or hair color, it now costs 6,000 rupees as opposed to the previous amount of 2,000 rupees. We depend on our clients, but the client is badly affected by this. We have no choice but to do this. If not, we would suffer losses.
ඉතින් නැත්තම් අපිට පාඩු විඳින්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා.
මේ දවස්වල නම් මෙයා
Due to the economic crisis, people don't visit like they used to. Creams that used to cost around 1,000 rupees are now more expensive.
දස් ගාණක් වගේ තමයි යන්නේ. ඒකින්ද මිනිස්සු දැන් ටිකක් අඩුයි එනවා. දැන් නම් ඇත්තටම රූපලාවන්‍ය ශාස්ත්‍රයේ
The beauty industry has crashed. We will also have to leave and find other means of employment. We can't carry on like this.
අපිට ඇත්තටම කරගෙන යන්න අපහසුයි.
The industrial hub of Sri Lanka, the western province centering Colombo, is an area in which the beauty industry once thrived. But here as well, the crisis has taken its toll.
අපේ ඩෙස්ටිනේෂන් වෙඩින්ග්ස් කීපයක් කැන්සල් වුණා.
A lot of our destination weddings have been cancelled. This is because many clients are used to the international brands and are expecting them. The dollars that were coming to us have stopped. When it comes to nails, there are specialized nail bars. And in this too, there are imported nail acrylics and gels. However, in Sri Lanka, we don't have this. When we take keratin, it is very popular. But nobody in Sri Lanka manufactures these. Without these, it is difficult to go forward in this industry. We have to lay off employees because of this issue. Then what happens to those depending on them? This is a very sad situation. The families of those who are laid off will have to suffer. We must bear huge costs, even in electricity bills. It takes a lot of cash to pay the electricity bills and afford our products as well. We can't charge these costs from the clients. We bear the cost for the clients.
ලයිට් බිල් පවා අපිට දැන් ලොකු මුදලක් දරන්න වෙනවා ලයිට් බිල් ගෙවන්න සලොන්ස් වලට. ඉතින් ඒ සලොන්ස් වලින් ලයිට් බිල් උත් ගෙවාගෙන ප්‍රොඩක්ට්ස් උත් අතිවිශාල මුදලකට අරගෙන අපි ක්ලයන්ට් ගෙන් මේවා charge කරන්න බෑ. ඉතින් අපි ඒ පාඩුව දරාගෙන තමයි යන්නේ.
Recently, there has been an increase in malnutrition in the country owing to the economic crisis. The nutritional status of children especially is of grave concern. Eggs are a staple which anyone in the village or the city can easily obtain for nutrition. However, the egg market is facing a crisis today. The All Island Poultry Association claims that a mafia was involved in the importation of eggs from the very beginning. The association says they are against the importation of eggs to the country.
The All Island Poultry Association arrived in Gampaha with stocks of eggs. They offered merchants of the Valisar Economic Centre eggs to be sold at 53 rupees. The retail price of one of these eggs is 55 rupees.
සංගමෙන් තමයි ගෙනල්ලා දෙන්නේ. අපිට 53න් ගෙනල්ලා දෙනවා. 55 විකුණනවා. ඉස්සල්ලා අපිට හම්බුනේ 58ට. අපි ඒකට 60ට වික්කා. දැන් ලංකාවේ විතර තියනවා නම් තමයි හොඳ. පිටරටින් ගෙනවට වැඩි ලංකාවේ මේක නිෂ්පාදනය වැඩි කරලා අඩු මිලට දෙන්න පුළුවන් නම් තමයි හොඳ.
මුලදී ඉඳන්ම තිබුණේ මේක මාෆියාවක්. මොකද මම හිතන්නේ මුලදී ඉඳන්ම තිබුණේ මේ විතර පිටරටින් ගෙනීමේ සැලසුමක් මුලදීම ක්‍රියාත්මක වුණා.
The All Island Poultry Association took steps to distribute eggs free of charge to the Lady Ritway Children's Hospital. They will be providing stocks of eggs till the 30th of April free of charge to the hospital.
We are providing eggs to all the tender holders for hospitals across the country at 53 rupees. All farmers were happy to provide these stocks to us at this price.
මේ වගේ කාලයක එහෙම ලොකු පරිත්‍යාගයක් මේ ඍජුආරය ළමාරෝහල කියන්නේ දරුවන් වෙනුවෙන් වෙන් වෙච්ච රෝහල.
This is crucial at a moment like this. This is a hospital dedicated to children. It can house 1,020 children at a time. We are sincerely grateful for this assistance during a difficult time like this.
ඊට සිතින් කෘතඥපූර්වක ඒ පරිත්‍යාගය පිළිගන්නා බව කියන්න සතුටුයි.
According to the Sri Lanka State Trading Corporation, the first batch of imported eggs are expected to reach Sri Lanka from India by the end of next week. Its chairman RCD Valisundara said 5 million eggs will be imported under the first stage. He added the process of calling tenders for the importation of eggs has reached the final stage. The relevant tender will be awarded on Monday. He says they plan to sell the batch of eggs imported from India at a price of 42 rupees. Speaking on Newsfirst Newsline on our sister channel Shakti TV, Parliamentarian Mujibur Rahman commented on the decision to import eggs.
This government came into power promising to ban all imports. Recently, they increased the cost to egg manufacturers by increasing electricity tariffs. Instead of implementing a program to increase the manufacture of eggs, they're taking steps to import eggs. The government is working to fulfill the requirements of their friends in business. In the recent past, we saw how the ministers of this government behaved. They worked for commissions. I don't think that you can sell eggs at low prices while importing them. It will happen for 2 months. Thereafter, the prices will increase again.
the people.
The Lanka Coal Company Private Limited says another shipment of coal is expected to reach Sri Lanka's shores.
Lanka Coal Company Private Limited General Manager Namal Hevage says the shipment contains 60,000 metric tons of coal. The ship is sailing to Sri Lanka from South Africa. A coal shipment of 60,000 metric tons, which arrived in Sri Lanka yesterday, is being unloaded. Lanka Coal says it will take an additional 3 days to unload the shipment.
Now, the National Water Supply and Drainage Board says the water supply to many areas of Colombo will be suspended for a period of 18 hours from 10 p.m. tonight till 4 p.m. tomorrow. The water cut will be in effect in Colombo 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 9, 10 and 11. The water cut was attributed to urgent maintenance of the water pipeline system that supplies water to the Maliga Kanda reservoir. Now moving on with more news, Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, speaking at a panel discussion, commented on Sri Lanka's history of going to the IMF. Speaking at the event titled Strengthening Institutions for Sustainable Growth in the Post-COVID World, he made these comments.
We have gone to the IMF 16 times, this is the 17th time. If you look at the earlier IMF program, the last 10 programs, and look at the objectives, same objectives, revenue-based fiscal consolidation and high debt and there are some payment issues. So we have been going back and forth, and the reason why always with the program we go in the 2 steps forward and take again 1 step backwards, so there's no progress. It's mainly because of this important topic of the strong fiscal rules, the independent central bank, independent regulatory institutions, strong public service, independent public service, the politicizing the all government operations. Those are the reasons.
According to a report, India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar is likely to visit Sri Lanka this year.
The Hindustan Times reports, quoting people familiar with the matter, that Indian External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar is likely to visit Sri Lanka, although the dates for the trip are yet to be finalized by the two sides. The visit, if it goes ahead, will be an opportunity to reset bilateral relations after they were hit by the visit of the Chinese surveillance vessel Yuan Wang 5 to Sri Lanka's Hambantota port last August. It is also an opportunity to take forward discussions on restructuring Sri Lanka's debt amid an unprecedented economic crisis. According to the Hindustan Times, there were no official word from both countries on the matter.
Opposition leader Sajid Premadasa says although a person has the right to be an atheist, no one has the right to defame another religion.
At this moment, revolutionary groups who insulted the sacred tooth relic, which is considered the pinnacle of the Buddha Sasana, have been formed in our country. They say they do not have a religion. That is their right. But just because someone is a non-believer, they do not have the right to insult any religion in the country, be it Buddhism, Christianity, Catholicism, Islam, Hinduism or any other religion. No one can insult or destroy religions. We will not allow that. This country needs religious and national reconciliation. If we are to rise as a nation, we must be strong. We must unite. Unity is our strength. Collectiveness is our strength.
The opposition leader was speaking during the Sakwala program to donate the 67th bus to the Nivandima Jinaraja National School.
Former Minister Mervyn Silva visited the Ahugoda area in Putuhara of Kurunagala today. He did this to determine as to whether or not a replica of the Pattiripua of the sacred temple of the Tooth Relic in Kandy was constructed in this area.
දල්දා වහන්සේ වඩිනවයි කියලා ප්‍රචාරයක් තියෙනවද? නෑ සර්. මම කියලාම නෑ. ෂුවර්. එහෙනම් මොකක්ද මේ? හරි. දල්දා වහන්සේකට අගෞරව කිරීම බෑ. කවදාවත් වෙන්නේ නෑ සර්. දල්දා වහන්සේ දල්දා මාලිගාවේ හැටියට පත්තිරිප්පුව තියෙනවා නම් ඔයාට මම සති දෙකක් කල් දෙනවා කඩන්නම ඕනේ. වෙනස් කරන්නම ඕනේ. අපි යංකු බලන්න. ඒක වෙනස් කරන්න ඕනේ. එහෙනම් අපි යන්නේ. ඔයාලට සුව වෙන්න කියලා මම ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරනවා. මේ ඔක්කොම ලේතුමා. ඔයගොල්ලන්ට මම සුව වෙන්න කියලා ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරනවා. ඥානවලට මම ගෞරව කරනවා. මොකද මේ වගේ ලෙඩුන්ට නොමිලේ වෙදකම් කරන්න මේ ගියාත්වල තියෙන පින. මේ අයට කන්න දෙනවද ඔයා? එහෙම මේ අයම සුවපත් වෙච්ච අය දන්සල් බාර අරගෙන කරනවා. මේකට අඩුවක් තියෙනවනම් මගේ ඇඩ්‍රස් එක ලියා ගන්න. ඒ දන්සලට අවශ්‍ය මුදල් මම දෙන්න. හා. මොනවද? ඉතින් එනමයික වාදන හරි සතුටු වුණා. මේක ඇත්තටම බලන්නේ කියන්නේ ලොකු දෙයක්. එනං බලන්න. මම මර්වින් සිල්වා.
I am Mervin Silva. Do you know my name? I stopped the killing of animals in the Kalikovel. During the Dalada Perahera, they had no way of hanging Buddhist flags. I was then the minister. I bought flags from Kalani and set up Buddhist flags all over Kandy. This has the image of a Pattirippu. I will come in 2 weeks to meet you. You will change it, correct?
Pattirippu ස්වරූපේ තියෙන. ඔබතුමාගේ වෙනස් කරන්න ඕනේ. මම සුමාන දෙයකින් ඔබතුමා හම්බෙන්න එනවා. හෙට උදේ එනකොට වෙනස් කරන්න. වෙනස් කරන්න මම දන්සලට මන් දෙනවා මුදල් මිනිස්සුන්ට නොමිලේ කන්න. ඉන්ටත් දරුවාල් දලදා මාලිගාව කියන්නේ ලෝකෙම දන්දාතුන් වහන්සේ.
The tooth relic is only found in the hill country of the Kandy. I appreciate his work here. He will remove the Pattirippu. Patients will recover. This is not a replica of the temple of the tooth relic. This is only a Pattirippu. There can only be one Pattirippu in Sri Lanka. I don't need the permission of the government to do the right thing. I don't do anything wrong.
අරක වැඩ කරන්නේ නෑ.
මේ කොයිද මේ දානවා මේ ඥානක මාත්‍ය අත්අඩංගුවට ගන්න කියලා. ඔව්.
ඔබතුමාට එහෙම කරදරයක් වුණොත් මම මෙතෙන්ට එන්නේ. යන්න.
Kevin McCarthy has been elected the Speaker of the US House of Representatives after heated exchange which almost saw fellow Republicans come to blows. It took 15 rounds of voting for McCarthy to win the job, despite his party having a majority in the chamber. It came after a dramatic pressure campaign played out live on the House floor as party rebel Matt Gaetz was urged to vote for McCarthy. The Florida congressman was among 6 holdouts who relented late on Friday. With McCarthy finally ascending to the Speaker's chair, the House will finally start swearing in newly elected lawmakers and the 2023-2024 session can begin. McCarthy of California replaces veteran legislator Nancy Pelosi, who announced plans to step down from the Democratic House leadership last month. Earlier, amid heated scenes in the chamber, Gaetz had almost come to blows with Republican Mike Rogers, a supporter of McCarthy. The Alabama congressman had to be physically restrained by colleagues as he bellowed and jabbed his finger at Gaetz. A 6-year-old boy has been detained by police after shooting a teacher in the US state of Virginia.
Chief Steve Drew said the shooting happened at an elementary school in the city of Newport News. It is unclear how the child obtained the gun, but Drew said the incident was not, quote, an accidental shooting, unquote. The teacher, who has not been named and is said to be in her 30s, was left with life-threatening injuries. She was taken to a local hospital and is being closely monitored by doctors. The incident took place in a first-grade classroom after an altercation between the pair. Police declined to name the weapon used in the incident, but said the boy had used a handgun.
2 men have been hanged in Iran for allegedly killing a member of the military during nationwide protests. Mohammad Mehdi Karami and Mohammad Husseini were executed in the early hours of Saturday, days after the country's Supreme Court confirmed their sentences for corruption on earth. Human rights groups have denounced what they described as a sham trial. Karami and Husseini were accused of killing Ruhollah Ajman on the 3rd of November when large protests took place in the city of Karaj near Tehran. Saturday's hangings bring the total executions over the protests to 4. The latest executions come amid allegations that the confessions were forced. Dozens of Hollywood stars have called on Iran to stop executions of imprisoned protesters. The third and final match of the T20 series between Sri Lanka and India is currently underway in Rajkot of India. Chasing a target of 229, Sri Lanka were 51 for the loss of 3 wickets in 6.1 overs a short while ago. After winning the toss, Indian captain Hardik Pandya elected to bat first. Avishka Fernando was picked as a replacement for Bhanuka Rajapaksa. There were no changes to the Indian side. If Sri Lanka wins today's game, this will be just their third T20 series win against India. Sri Lankan captain Dasun Shanaka, who has played the most number of T20 matches for Sri Lanka, plays his 85th T20 international today. And that's a wrap of Primetime News here on TV1 for today. As always, thank you for watching. Stay safe, take care, and have a good night.